By the time Super Bowl 52 kicks off, you'll have heard every single possible angle and matchup about the game. With 2 weeks between the conference championship weekend and the biggest game of the year, analysts are droning on 24/7 about the X's and O's, the coaches, the field, and the major and minor injuries. The New England Patriots will face the Philadelphia Eagles at US Bank Stadium in Minneapolis, Minnesota. The Patriots open favored by 5 points with a total at 48 for the big game. There are a lot of things that don't make a ton of sense about this line. The Eagles were a field goal underdog at home to Atlanta in the divisional round and Minnesota in the NFC Championship. Considering home field in the playoffs is easily worth 3 points, those two lines suggested that the Eagles would be catching 6 points on a neutral against those two NFC foes. Now, as we get ready for the neutral site Super Bowl, the Eagles are only getting 5. New England looked beatable against Jacksonville and Philadelphia did not against Minnesota, but this line seems to have over-adjusted based on the results of 1 week of action. The Philadelphia Eagles fly into this game with back-to-back outright upset wins in the playoffs, a 15-3 straight-up record and a 12-6 against the spread record. The Patriots have identical marks. The Patriots failed to cover for just the 9th time over the last 37 games in last week's win over Jacksonville. Philadelphia had dropped 4 of 5 against the spread to end the regular season, but has gotten back on track in the playoffs. Make no mistake, this is a tricky handicap. We have 2 data points of Nick Foles against playoff teams. Foles started regular season games against the Giants, Raiders, and Cowboys, but that Week 17 finale against Dallas meant nothing, and the Eagles played like it in a 6-0 shutout. Through 2 playoff games, however, Foles is 49 of 63 for 598 yards with a 3-0 touchdown interception ratio. He's only been sacked twice and has nearly 10 adjusted net yards per pass attempt and 9 net yards per pass attempt. There have been big plays, and he has spread the ball around really nicely while not turning it over. The eye test was a lot kinder to Nick Foles against the exceptional Vikings defense in the NFC Championship game than it was against Atlanta, but it seemed like Foles really settled down and the coaching staff had the right plan in place. Zach Ertz caught all 8 targets for 93 yards. Alshon Jeffrey caught 2 touchdowns and all 5 of his targets. Torrey Smith caught 5 of 7 targets for 69 yards, and Nelson Agholor caught 3 of his 4 targets for 59 yards. The Eagles had 13.5 yards per reception against the vaunted Minnesota defense and were 10 of 14 on 3rd down. There are a lot of guys to cover and key in on with this Eagles group of skill position players, and that will be a challenge for Patriots DC Matt Patricia. It certainly looks like head coach Doug Peterson and offensive coordinator Frank Reich have put Foles in a position to succeed. Lost in the surprise about Foles and his performance is the fact that this defense has been quite good. The goal line stand in the divisional round is the reason why the Eagles are here. Through 2 games, the Eagles have allowed 614 yards and just 2 touchdowns. They have 4 sacks, 3 takeaways, and Matt Ryan and Case Keenum combined for less than 6 yards per pass attempt and only 50 completions on 84 attempts. The Eagles did not put up the same big sack totals that teams like Pittsburgh, Jacksonville, and the Rams put up, but they did hold the opposition to a 60.4% completion rate and just 5.1 adjusted net yards per pass attempt. Philadelphia's ability to get pressure with the front 4 and collapse the pocket helped the defense to 19 interceptions and allowed the back 7 to worry about tackling and coverage as opposed to rushing the quarterback. Defensive coordinator Jim Schwartz will have to crack the Tom Brady code in order to help his team to victory, which will be no small task. But the fact that the Eagles can disguise coverage packages and rely on the linemen to interrupt Brady should be a big help, with New England's desire to use running backs in the passing game, and should also mitigate some of New England's strength on those crossing routes. As good as this Philadelphia defense has been, and as much time as there is to prepare, Tom Brady is still going to get his share. Brady was 26 of 38 against Jacksonville and struggled in the first half, but he made plays when he needed to and helped the Patriots overcome a poor effort from the rushing attack. Brady was forced to scramble more than he would like and was sacked 3 times, but he has a couple of weeks to heal those bumps and bruises, and perhaps most importantly, Rob Gronkowski has 2 weeks to come back from the concussion he suffered. Gronkowski is obviously a matchup nightmare and an elite player, but he commands the watchful eyes of both linebackers and safeties, which allows the Patriots to use the middle of the field with the backs and receivers. What should scare Philadelphia is that Brady adjusted and relied heavily on Brandon Cooks once Gronkowski went out, and that softened the defense for Danny Amendola. Brady is simply that good, and that will be a challenge for the Eagles. If they remove Rob Gronkowski from the plan, or Gronkowski's concussion does that for them, they still have a lot of weapons to be concerned with. New England's defense excels at a few key things. For one thing, the Patriots only allowed a 43.8% touchdown conversion rate in the red zone. Teams moved the ball, but scheme won out for Matt Patricia's defense. That was the fourth best mark in the NFL. Philadelphia, meanwhile, ranked 20th at 55.3%, so we'll see if that comes into play in the Super Bowl. New England's team speed has been a question throughout the year, and that weakness is mitigated when things get bunched up inside the 20. So it stands to reason that the Patriots would excel there when they failed in a lot of other defensive areas. Head coach Bill Belichick and Matt Patricia often find ways to neutralize the opposition's best player, which might be Zach Ertz for Philadelphia as far as skill players go. But the Eagles are a lot like the Patriots in that their collective cast of running backs and receivers features guys that can make plays and step up if somebody else slacks off. We'll have to see who draws the most attention from the New England defense and if the corners can hold up in single coverage, if that's what it takes to slow down Ertz. As usual, we'll have to consider some of the intangible elements of the Super Bowl. The Patriots have been there and done that. Tom Brady has won MVP 4 times in his 5 Super Bowl wins. The one time he did not came in Super Bowl 39 against the Eagles, and Deion Branch won the honors. The Eagles have not been down this road many times, and Nick Foles now finds himself under the brightest lights of his career. At least Carson Wentz went through the NFL draft hoopla, so he did a lot of interviews and media. Most of the Eagles have not, and that can be draining in the lead up to the game. Similarly, Belichick, Josh McDaniels, and Patricia have been through this, whereas Peterson never has. The Patriots just certainly have a lot more experience in this situation. This is not a strong opinion on which way the game will go. You could see where the money goes and how the market plays out, and there's plenty of value in this game on props. The Eagles present some problems for the Patriots because of how well they can cover short and intermediate routes, since they don't sacrifice much with blitzes. The skill position talent for the Eagles is spread out in a way that should allow Philadelphia to have success against a slower New England defense. If this line closes at 5.5 or higher, it will be the largest Super Bowl spread since 2009, when Pittsburgh failed to cover against Arizona as a touchdown favorite. Dating back to 2008, the underdog is 8-2 against the spread, with New England winning as a pick'em in Super Bowl 49. That may or may not mean much this time around, and it isn't the largest of sample sizes, but favorites typically are inflated a little bit with the expression of heavier volume on the public team. So far, our pick and prediction will be for the Philadelphia Eagles at +5, +5.5, or perhaps more if this line continues to move up. For our pick and prediction on this game and every other game this week, and a wealth of free stats and information, check out bangthebook.com.